Couples who lie about how you met. What's your real meeting story? She was my coke dealer. We bonded while I helped her bag an ounce into grams. We had some crazy and tumultuous years, but after we both straightened our lives out we decided we met at a house party was close enough to the truth. We tell everyone that we met at a Halloween party. In reality I just messaged her randomly on Facebook looking for a one-nighter. 3 years later we are engaged. Life is weird. Not me but my grandparents. They actually met over a newspaper ad for single people, went hiking in a group and fell in love. My grandpa denied the story until his dying day. My grandma only told us once he died. That's how my husband and I met, almost 30 years ago. We both did it on a lark, never expecting to end up married. We only told our kids, 21 and 24, about 6 months ago. Our families know. We don't tell others. It sounds weird. I don't lie about it but everyone immediately associates our story with a typical P scene. My boyfriend used to be my landlord. Is he still the lord of your land? One of my co-workers has a great story about how he met his wife at the park on a sunny afternoon. Another co-worker who has known him for close to 20 years told me that the real story is that it was a personals ad. He was looking for an Asian girl and she was looking for citizenship. Both looking for a better life. It's a good story as long as neither of them is a terrible person looking to take advantage of the other. Met my boyfriend online. Only lived 2 states away. I was graduating and hadn't decided where to go to college. We met a few times and mom thought I should go to school where he lived, a college town. So I moved there and we've been together since. 5 years. Most people are weirded out by the whole online thing. At least older. We met on Tumblr. Sigh lol. People our age think it's cool, not that weird. Thought I ruined my life for picking a college near a boy. I wanted to at least give it a shot. It's been going well so far. I was working at a bar and grill as a kitchen manager. One night a friend of mine brought some friends in to celebrate her birthday. Some I knew, some I didn't. They waited till I got off and I joined them. I met this one girl. The birthday girl was a mutual friend of ours. She was beautiful, smart, great sense of humor. We all lost track of time and before we knew it, it was nearly 11. Everyone was getting their things together when this girl said to me, "I'm going to run to the bathroom." I said okay and she went off. A minute later the birthday girl came up to me and said, she told us to leave her so she could come out, all surprised that we left and you would give her a ride home. I laughed and said okay. They left and a minute later, out she came. OMG, did they leave? I can't believe it. Of course I told her I would give her a ride home. It's been 5 years since that night and we are now happily married with a 6-month-old little girl. That's actually super cute, oh my goodness. We met online in a chat room. We were friends for over 5 years before we started dating. We usually tell people we met through mutual friends. Met him on FetLife. Told my co-workers it was on Bumble. One co-worker was so inspired she went on Bumble but hasn't had any success. We don't necessarily lie about it, just omit a few details. I catfished him on Tinder. I was 300 plus lbs at the time and using pictures from 5 years ago. I came clean and he was down to meet anyways. We've been together ever since and in the meantime I have lost all the weight and look like the girl in the pictures again. We just moved in together. Congrats on the weight loss and your relationship. I met my boyfriend online nearly 8 years ago, on a gaming forum, back when there was more of a stigma. We are both from different countries too. Over a few months we escalated from forum messages to Facebook to daily Skype with voice and video to him visiting me in London and the rest is history. We've lived together in Denmark for over 5 years now. I used to cut out everything before the we met while he was visiting London part. I got sick of being asked stuff like what if he was a serial killer or oh but you can't really know someone you met online. Nowadays people think it's totally fine. I know another couple that met through WoW. Both introduced to the game through their exes and when they broke up about the same time, they started talking. They literally lived almost exactly on the opposite side of the earth from each other, soared through the globe, could hit both houses or some similar goofy gaming quote. I was dating a girl. She had a younger brother. Younger brother had a girlfriend. Me and the younger brother's girlfriend soon realized that brother-sister are not the greatest people, sheltered their whole lives and have a weird, crazy view of the world. So we dated each other instead. Needless to say the siblings were pee, but that's none of my business. I told all my friends that I asked her to homecoming. What really happened was this. She's an incredible person. Totally out of my league. So out of my league that I wasn't even going to ask her. One day, I was talking to one of her friends who was going to homecoming, when she casually says, "I know someone who really wants to go with you," and she points over to this godlike figure who smiles and waves at me. She's amazing. We met on Tinder when we were both looking for totally casual, no strings attached anonymous sex after having our hearts broken by shitheads and giving up on everyone. We matched. She liked my beard. I liked her blue eyes, and we talked crap about Harry Potter and discussed who we thought would make a better Spider-Man, Toby or Andrew. We met up, went home, banged and left it at that, totally expecting to never speak again or meet up to bang every once in a while. Then we started talking more about life, and our days, and our families, and future plans. Then we started staying over each other's houses after sex. We started going for breakfast. We started holding hands. We held gazes for seconds longer than we ever would have. We started to stay over each other's houses without even sleeping with each other, and until that point, months after we matched, we never spoke about being together. But then one evening, drunk on our way home from a bar, we looked at each other and shrugged, saying, "I guess we're a thing now." We tell everyone we met at that bar. Getting married in spring 2018. Nothing wrong with Tinder, folks. Me and my ex made up a similar story. We said we met at a bar, but we really met on Grindr and just wanted to frick. In 2008 I was 19 years old, living with my parents. One fateful day I decided to have myself a wank, and everything was going great. Right when I was about to CM I realized I didn't have anything to CM in. At the last minute I decided to try to run and grab myself a sock. That's when all heck broke loose. While running across my bedroom I kicked my guitar amp and immediately went to the ground. I was still trying to finish, but at the same time I was looking down at my foot and saw that my pinky toe was loosely hanging there, at a 90-degree angle with my foot. I tried and tried, but over the course of about 10 seconds I was hopelessly flaccid. This left me laying there naked, with blue balls, with a broken toe that was so painful I couldn't even get myself up off the ground or dress myself. My parents were in the other room. I had never broken a bone before, and had no idea how to tend to it. All I was able to do was reach for my laptop, go onto Facebook, and type in, "Does anyone know how to tend to a broken toe?" This is where my girlfriend comes in. I had met her at a mutual friend's house one time about a year earlier. She was dating another guy at the time. She was sweet and beautiful, but I didn't think much of it, as she was taken. I received a Facebook friend request from her, accepted it, and hadn't thought of her for a year. She was the first one to respond for my subtle cry for help. We started talking, and she explained how to make a splint, and different care methods for a broken toe. Then she asked if I wanted to Skype so she could show me on video, and I said sure. After a while we started talking about things other than my toe. Then we started Skyping for fun. Then we started Skyping every day. Then I was visiting her in a town 3 hours away. Then she was moving back home to be with me. We tell everyone we met through a mutual friend. Funny enough, I broke my toe earlier this year for the second time in my life. The first time she cared for me from afar. The second time, 8 years later, she was right there with me to care for me, as we now live together. TLDR. Tried to make a lonely cummy. Found myself a new honey. Crushing the TLDR game. We met on Match.com 4 years ago and hooked up the first night after blacking out on margaritas. We were inseparable after that. We tell people we met through a mutual friend from college that he introduced us when they found out we lived near each other. We live 1k miles from where we both went to school. Husband just thinks there's still a stigma with online dating, so he likes the mutual friends thing better. It's so far-fetched, people always think it's sweet and God's miracle we found each other. We lie about how we started dating. Well, Mostly it's lying by omission. I don't want to tell our families that he courted me by giving me handcuffs and a vibrator as a present and that I sucked his dong weeks before we ever kissed. This needs more background. My best friend from 7th grade ended up joining the adult industry and was dancing for a bucks night. After the show she and the other stripper stuck around and the best man started talking to her. Fast forward 8 years and they're married with 2 gorgeous little girls. She quit the business when they got serious and never looked back. He is an amazing guy who is warm and really nice. They're perfect for each other, but I'll never forget his toast at their wedding. Everyone except another girl from school and I were the only 2 from her side of guests that knew the real story, so when B gave his speech about how they first met through friends, everyone in the room was like AWW, except Elle and me. We were frantically trying not to pee ourselves laughing. Her dad hates me even more now. Boo. I tell people we met through a mutual friend at a pride parade. And we did. Just not face to face. I found a photo from that day where I was in the background on our mutual friend's Facebook, and I tagged myself. Turns out, my now husband took and posted the photo, so it was actually on his Facebook. He friend requested me. I accepted. We started talking. 5 years later, here we are. Actually, that is an amazing story, and it is cool enough that you should tell it instead of the lie. Met through Reddit. Most people would probably find that off-putting, so we say we met through mutual friends when my BF went to school. Works well enough, but I'd rather tell the truth. Most people would probably find that off-putting. Not with that username, they won't. We were preppy kids with a secret rebellious life of partying every chance we got. We were about to partake in some illegal recreational activities. We pull up to said party and he says, I've been thinking a lot about us and I would really like for us to be together. I wanted to tell you before we went inside and got all fricked up. We've now been together for 13 years. Married with a kid. Don't party at all. People call us the great American couple. If they only knew. We were preppy kids. Illegal recreational activities. Yup, this checks out. Nobody else would call it that. Craigslist. Relationship area. We went grocery shopping together for our first date. The next day we made dinner together at my place. The third day I took her out to dinner. We tell people we met in college. LOL. I drank about 30 light beers while watching the Super Bowl, then went out and got trashed after my team lost. Woke up and she was there, but since I was blacked out the night before I had to hit it in the morning to ensure my own success. Not exactly a story for the family. What does it take to get trashed after 30 beers? So not me, but both my grandfather and my brother met their future wives by being passed out drunk at a friend's home after a party during their senior years of college. In both cases they were close to the front door asleep on the floor, and the roommate of the party thrower came home after a late shift at the hospital. Both were nurses. My grandfather was clocked in the head by the front door. My brother was tripped over and fallen on. No one knew the story about my grandfather and grandmother until my brother told about how he met his wife. Grandpa was probably 75 when he told us how he really met grandma. We thought they met through mutual friends on a double date. Grandpa fessed up and said she gave me a concussion and a cut with that door. She stitched me up, took care of me all Sunday, and by the next weekend we were courting. She knocked all the sense out of me that night. She knocked all the sense out of me. Yep, that's how they getcha. I used to sell weed. Her friend used to pick up from me and we ended up hitting it off over a year. We tell people we met at a museum and everyone loves it. Not even a little bit parallel to reality. I love it. We met at the gym. She was on a Stairmaster facing into the room with a mirror behind. Speaking of behind, she caught me staring at hers in the mirror. I was on my 57th rep on the chest press machine across from her. My pecs were hella sore the next few days, but I got a date. Dang, I thought it was less obvious when we used the mirrors. This isn't how we met, but our first date. I called her asking if she was doing anything and she said she was picking up a friend one town over and asked if I wanted to come. On the way we decided we wanted to purchase some ma. So I called some people and we popped into the liquor store for some drinks. No one has M, so we settle on coke. We barely had enough for a gram, but whatever. So we get home, start drinking, and I make some calls. The guy can meet us but we have to drive across town. We're both drunk. No go. So I decide, how about some H? She agrees and I call my guy and boom, he's picking up right now. Cool. I walk to meet him and grab a couple points. Me and this girl then spend the next few hours sitting in parks doing lines of horse. I felt great. She threw up all the way home, but we still laughed and had a great time, albeit in between her vomits. Now we're married with a son and neither of us touch drugs. TLDR. Knew this girl and we decided to go out to Doomed Mar and it quickly escalated to H. It became our first date. Jesus, I thought I was about to read Requiem for a Dream. We meet through Tinder. His parents know about Tinder but my parents know it's through Facebook. Technically it was because you had to connect your Facebook account through Tinder. Been dating for 2 years and got engaged after 1 year. Soon to be married. I tell them we met at a camp out, which is mostly true. It was actually a let's go do lots of different drugs for 2 days straight camping trip. We got married this past Wednesday. Congratulations on your very recent wedding. Our friends know how we really met, but family and older relatives absolutely do not. We tell people we met in college, but didn't go out because we were both in committed relationships at the time. In reality we met on a freezing December morning picking up trash for mandatory community service. We'd both gotten wheeze. He was on extended probation because he'd put off his community service, and I was, for once in my life, not procrastinating. Had we each done our service in a timely manner, we probably would have never met. Many people do know the real story, but for those who don't, Paul is a good friend. We met through friends of friends. In reality Paul and I have been dating for 3+ years and are very in love. We met at a sex kink party, decided to go on a few dates, and really hit it off. Because I'm also married, husband certainly knows, I prefer that certain friends and family, and especially co-workers and acquaintances, just don't know that Paul and I are a couple. I'm trying to find the courage to tell my family, but I'm afraid of rejection and judgment. We meet on OkCupid as 20 and 23 YOX Christians virgins who had never so much as made out with someone. She never even kissed some by age 23. Both of us were looking to frick someone and were doing it 3 dates later. Been together a year now. Me and the guys were doing a booze cruise. We took the ferry between Sweden and Finland to drink a lot of tax-free alcohol. On the return trip we literally stumbled over a girl we vaguely knew. She was passed out from too much alcohol in a corridor aboard the ferry. Since we were basically innocent boys, we picked her up and carried her to our cabin and placed her in recovery position in the shower cabin, and checked on her now and then for a few hours until she came to again. There's nothing shady about 4 drunk guys carrying a passed out girl to their room, right? Anyway, she and one of the guys started dating shortly after this, and now, 20 years later, they have 4 kids. One of these days, one of their kids will probably ask how they met. I hope they have their stories synced. My parents lied to me for years. They told me they met while they were in college. As it turns out, my father was in the Navy, stationed on the West Coast. My mother lived in Washington, D.C. My father was casually banging my mom's roommate. Dad comes back to see family in CT, takes a ride down to D.C. to see his lady friend. As it turns out, lady friend found someone else and passed my dad off to my mom. Dad gets there. Everyone is in a jolly mood. They start partying. It doesn't end for 2 weeks. They claim it was the 70s. We were just having a good time. 10 days into this party, my mom ended up passing out on a commuter train when she finally had to go back to work. Dad came to pick her up. They went back to the party. Eventually my father goes back to the West Coast. My mom comes to visit a few months later. He proposes as my mom gets off the plane. Now I know what you're thinking. OP, you came along a few months later. Nope. 3 years later. They'll be celebrating 38 years together next April. My and my ex used to lie and say we met at one of my shows. In truth, we met on Craigslist during a time of mutual loneliness and borderline desperation. My father-in-law met his now wife through Craigslist and she's awesome. Craigslist provides. She dated my roommate for about a year and practically lived with us. Eventually my roommate moved to NY. We lived in SE and wasn't planning on telling anyone until 5 days before he moved, which was the 1st of January. She was heartbroken and he still owes me $1,500. After a few months I broke it off with my GF at the time and I messaged my current GF and asked if she wanted to hang out. Truthfully, I missed her being around. Hadn't known her that well, but we lived together almost a year. She had also just recently broken up with another guy, so we both needed some company. Second time we hang out, one thing just led to another and we're together a year and a half now. I love her more than anything. We are not really lying about it, but it's more of we don't tell unless someone asks, unless that someone is a relative. As you see, we both came from a family of conservative people. You know, those kinds who believe that internet friends are not really friends believers. Anyway, we met in Whisper. He responded to one of my posts and haven't stopped talking to each other ever since. I was dating his roommate. Roommate dumped me. Current so took an interest. Started hooking up with current so. Nothing serious. Got pregnant even though I was on the pill. Been together 5 years now. That is my nightmare. I mean, I'm glad you're happy, but I hate children. I say we met in a chat room. My therapist tells me she's not real and I really need to quit freaking around at our sessions. LOL, her sense of humor kills me. Amiral. I met my husband on Final Fantasy XI in 2005. We talked for several years before meeting in person. He came to visit me in South Korea where I was working as a teacher. It was just supposed to be a fun fling, but we stayed together. We have been married for 7 years and we have a 2-year-old with another on the way. We told people he was working in South Korea at the same time for years because it was so embarrassing to have met in an online game. Especially since I rarely admitted to playing it in the first place. We are more honest about how we met now. He came to visit me when one of my co-workers had her longtime serious boyfriend visit her at the same time. She broke up with him 2 weeks into their 2-month visit and it was super awkward. We met while wasted in the dorms and playing wingman to our 2 friends who wanted to hook up. We proceeded to get even more wasted, throw up several times, somehow ended up hanging out in out underwear, and had sex. We just tell people we met because we lived in the same building. Not me, but a friend. His now wife was a working girl and he met her that way. He's a hotshot lawyer from a very conservative background. Everyone at the wedding knew the truth but nobody said it. My grandfather was in the hospital less than 5 miles from where she lived, so Tinder picked her up. Got engaged in September. No regrets. We told our friends that we met on Tinder. In fact, we met on an app for sugar babies and sugar daddies. There was going to be a weekly arrangement. I would pay her cash. She would pretend to be my girlfriend. Then we met in person for the first time, and it wasn't perhaps love at first sight, but there was a palpable spark of attraction jumping across the table, and surprise and relief from both sides. I was surprised that she was a real, genuine, interesting person. Not a professional gold digger pretending to make a career of being a model or brand representative, unlike everyone else I met on that app. And she was surprised that I was really me, not a creepy old dude with fake photos planning to fly her out to the rape islands, unlike everyone else she met on that app. Being a man with provider instincts, I actually tried following through with the terms of the arrangement for the first week, but it was just super weird and awkward. We agreed that we wanted to simply date, and, well, here we are now, in a long-term relationship. Maybe she's just really good at her job. Degrees. I met my fiancé on Tinder. It's kind of a funny story to tell people around my age, but when I am speaking to an older person who isn't really familiar with online dating social media, it gets pretty weird when they pry, so I tend to lie or try to avoid the topic. How did you two meet? Online. Oh, what site? My friend met his wife on Match.com. Tinder. Oh, is that like Match.com? What makes it different? We met at a swinger party when we were both married to other people. The original couples dated for a while, then the other couple broke up, then my original couple broke up. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.